All up and down the state of California now, high school coaches have their teams out in the field preparing for the 1984 football season, and it's no different here on the hill at Cabrillo High School. I'm Gene Lynch, and I'm standing here with Coach Bob Radford of the Cabrillo Conquistadors. And Bob, nice to see you at the beginning of a brand new season.
Thanks, Gene. I've missed you. It's been since June, I think, since I've seen you.
It's been an awful long time. Bob, we have a change in leagues this year. Last year we talked a little bit. There was some talk about Cabrillo moving to the Los Padres League, and it's become a reality. Moving up there with Paso Robles, Atascadero, St. Joseph's, and Morro Bay. What does the league look like as you're coming in as the league's new member?
Well, we had a Los Padres League meeting last night of all the coaches, basketball, wrestling, football, and etc. And I feel like that we're probably jumping from the frying pan into the fire, because I think the Los Padres League is really going to be tough this year with Atascadero as the defending CIF champion in their conference. Paso Robles was their #1 representative from that league last year, and St. Joseph has about 18 returning starters from offense-defensive team that they had last year. So it looks like to me that it's really going to be a tough row to hoe.
Well, you had an opportunity to play 3 of those ball clubs last year and came out 1-1-1, as I remember. And does that give you any kind of an insight into what you can expect from them?
Yes, we've played Atascadero the last 2 years, and we're 0-2 against them. We're 2-0 against Morro Bay, and the last, I guess we've played St. Joseph 4 times in a row now, and we're 2-1-1 against St. Joseph. So it's going to be a tough league.
What it amounts to is you played pretty much the same schedule. A lot of your preseason games are against Northern League clubs, and just the star on the schedule, it indicates a league game is going to be up against different names than it has been in years past.
Right. Right now we have I feel like we have one of our toughest non-league schedules that we've had in the history of our school for many years. And we open up with San Luis Obispo out of the Northern League. We play Nordoff from Ojai, Dos Pueblos from the Channel League, Santa Maria from the Northern League, Antelope Valley from the Golden League, and then we start league with Morro Bay, Atascadero, Paso Robles, St. Joseph, and then a non-league game with Lompoc.
Well, let's talk about the Cabrillo Conquistadors for a minute. You had a lot of great players last year. You came to a 3rd place finish in the Northern League, but you're going to be without people like White and Duncan and Walker. How are you going to fill those holes? You got people coming up from the JV that are going to do the job for you?
Well, I sure hope so. Only time will tell. Speaking of those guys that you just mentioned, I would like to say that we had 4 kids playing the All-Star game. Adam White was voted the most outstanding player in the North-South County game down in Santa Barbara. Steve Duncan was voted the outstanding defensive player for the North team, and Walker did an excellent. Sam Walker did an excellent job on offense. He played offensive guard, and Chomer Smoot punted and played defense. So our kids really were well represented in that All-Star game.
But they do leave big holes, as you just indicated. But you got some people back: Fitzgerald Wilson and another Duncan coming along. Played great at that football last year. Of course, they're going to be expected to play well again this year. How's it shaping up?
Well, Fitzgerald came real close to making all-league honors last year. He was probably he was the second at that time last year. He was the 2nd best quarterback in the league. Scott Duncan, Steve's younger brother, will be a senior this year, and he made all-league at defensive end. He will now be playing linebacker for us. We have some players up from the sophomore team last year. We also have 12 returning lettermen back from last year. So we have some holes to fill, but we have some holes that we've already filled.
As you take a look at the new Los Padres League and the talent that you have, what do you figure to be your greatest strengths with the talent that you're going to put on the field?
Well, I think that quarterback will be probably one of our strongest strengths. I think throwing and catching the ball will be one of our strongest strengths. And I feel like our PAT and field goal people that we have will be a strength for us. I feel like that our defensive secondary will be a strength for us.
Well, altogether, it looks like it's a promising year. I see that early on you're picked to finish behind Atascadero in the Los Padres League, and of course, I know that you would like to have more than that.
Oh, I'd like to finish above Atascadero, but I think when you go into the season as Atascadero coming back as defending CIF champions, that I think most anybody would be picked behind them.
Well, Bob, of course, we wish you the best of luck, and we'll be with you there every week to see these Conquistadors in action against the Los Padres League and the rest of the preseason schedule. And we hope that everything goes well for you in the season.
Well, so far everything is going pretty well, and we're moving along, and we're pretty much on schedule what we had planned out in the summer and the first part of August. So time only tells, so we'll see. We have a game this a week from tonight, and I'm hoping that that the kids I'm sure they will. They'll be anxious to play, and so will the coaches.
Well, we're about ready to begin the 1984 Cabrillo Conquistador football season. As Coach Radford indicated, a team that's ready to play. They're a little bit ahead of schedule. In a new league, a lot of new faces and a lot of different colors and uniforms in the league. And we'll be there right here with Group W Cable Television. We'll be back with more right after this. Just seconds now from the kickoff, Gene Lynch along with Ernie Hutchinson, the first ball game of Cabrillo's 1984 season. The San Luis Obispo Tigers and the Conquistadors going at it. And this is a little bit different, as we mentioned before, Ernie. That is Cabrillo playing San Luis in a preseason game.
It certainly is, and there's the opening kickoff, Gene, and we're underway.
Binkley kicking the ball off to Vincent Flowers. Flowers at the 10. Breaks a couple of tackles and retreats. Got no blockers but some room. And finally pulled down at about the 15-yard line by number 81, Paul Head. So it's Cabrillo's ball, 1st and 10. On their own 15. Both ends of this field a little dark, but well lighted in the middle here at San Luis Obispo. Football conditions, Ernie.
Well, the field isn't in the best of shape. Some spots in it, but I think it's adequate. They'll make it on it tonight.
Morgan and Sullivan, the wide receivers to the left. Fitz Wilson, the first give up the middle for a couple. It'll be 2nd and about 8. Rod Davis with the first carry. Be 2nd down and 8 yards for the Conquistadors. The ball at the 17. Wilson on the option, pitches back to Davis again. Davis showing a lot of running ability. Finally run out of bounds at about the 30-yard line. So about a 13-yard pickup on the play. It'll be 1st and 10 Cabrillo, and that was a nice option play.
It was. Fitzgerald Wilson looked very well. Ran it very well on the first option that we've seen him run this year. And of course last year, that's when he was at his best, when they were able to run that option.
Mike Deal, wide receiver to the right. Wilson once again on the option, elects to keep. And moves the ball up to the 35-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 5 for the Conquistadors. So Cabrillo using that option early, trying to loosen up the defense, maybe open up the middle a bit.
Gene, I saw them in their scrimmage last Saturday, and I won't be surprised if they don't go to the air here pretty soon.
Wilson with the first pass attempt. Fumbles the ball. The ball is on the ground, still loose, and is covered by the Tigers. at about the 20-yard line, the 15-yard line of Cabrillo. So the line having trouble keeping that strong charge of the Tigers out of the backfield, and Wilson not able to control the ball. And Cabrillo now in a deep hole early in the ball game.
10 minutes, 17 seconds left to play in the first quarter, and it'll be San Luis ball first and 10 from about the 20-yard line of the Conquistadors.
Hurley split wide to the left. Torque, the quarterback, gives to number 23, Griffin. And that's the butterfly play. We're ready to settle down now. Griffin moves the ball all the way to the 10-yard line. To the 9, it'll be 2nd down and 4, a pickup of 6. Porter, the quarterback, is a converted wide receiver. San Luis with only 25 people on the roster. The give, once again, is to Hurley, or rather to Griffin, around the right side. Griffin moves down close to the first down.
A good defensive play that time by Mike Marcelli, the left cornerback. He came up and he literally threw him down by his shirt.
3rd down and 1. The ball at, it's hard to tell from our vantage point, looks to be about the 9-yard line. Ford once again calling signals. Straight up the middle. Ernie, I didn't get the number of the ball carrier. Did you get it? Once again was Griffin. Griffin with 2 yards. It's 1st and goal for the Tigers. And San Luis looking very sharp right out of the gun here.
Yes, they are.
Hurley wide to the left. Port having trouble with the ball, keeps it around the left side. He's got some room to run. Fumbles the ball in the end zone. Port lost control of the ball at about the 2-yard line. I wish I knew.
I wish I knew.
They've called it.
Safety. I mean, a touchback.
So Port fumbled the ball into the end zone, and the ball covered by the Conquistadors. And it's been ruled a touchback. And Cabrillo, to use a Ernie Hutchinson phrase, has dodged the bullet.
They did that time. He went in there and didn't protect the ball very well when he was carrying it. And he has no one to blame but himself on it.
The busted play from the beginning. Came out, stumbled out from behind center. Nothing went well. So Cabrillo.
It'll be 1st and 10 for Cabrillo from their own 20-yard line. And as you say, they dodged a bullet, 8:17 to go in the first quarter. So they get a second chance at it. Both teams offensively moved the ball relatively well on their first possession.
So fumbles the downfall for both teams here early in the first quarter. We have no score in this season opener. Morgan. Sullivan wide to the left. Fitz Wilson, the veteran quarterback, on the option. That's Davis bringing the ball out across the 40-yard line to the 41. So a nice 21-yard gain by the senior, 162-pound, 5'7", Rod Davis.
And he ran right behind the right offensive guard and tackle for Cabrillo, and that's Miranda and Soto.
So Davis, the big ball carrier here so far. Cabrillo in their second possession. Wilson up the middle to Kenny Walton. Walton with his first carry.
On the big run, actually he ran behind Stoic and Soto, so give everyone his due. It was Stoic, the tackle that threw the block that sprung him.
Kenny Walton with a 2-yard pickup. It's second down and 8 yards. The ball resting at the 43-yard line of the Conquistadors. Cabrillo with the ball by virtue of fumble in the end zone by San Luis Obispo Tiger quarterback Port. And they're on the move. Second and 8. Wilson wants to throw the ball. And Duncan with the reception at midfield moves the ball down to the San Luis 45-yard line.
And that's what I think we're going to see a lot of this year, Gene. As I was alluding to earlier in the telecast, Wilson looking very sharp in the scrimmage Saturday throwing the football, and the one pass that he's thrown tonight was right on the mark.
Scott Duncan from his tight end position ran a great pattern. Pickup of 12 yards. It's first and 10 at the Tiger 45. Once again on the option. The give is to Griffin, and he's a tough ball carrier. He shows a lot of power, or rather Rod Davis, a lot of power into the line, moves the ball all the way down to the 37-yard line of the Tigers, a pickup of 8. And it's second down and long 2. That's over 40 yards now for Davis, for Cabrillo. Up the middle to Walton. Walton moving the ball to the 35-yard line, and we'll have a measurement, a pickup of at least 2. And Walton has big shoes to fill.
Yes, he does. Walton fit in the shoes of David Johnson that was with him last year, and David is a fine running back. And so far, though, Walton has looked good in the offensive series for the Conquistadors, not so much with his ball carrying, but with his blocking, because he sprung Davis loose on both of the good runs that he got, on one of the good runs that he got.
First down for the Cabrillo Conquistadors by the nose of the ball. First and 10 at the 35-yard line. And I'm impressed with this Cabrillo offense here in this second series. This is faster than they started last year.
Well, it certainly is. And they looked good in the first series. Wilson just fumbled the ball away, trying to get away from a tackle, but they were moving the ball pretty well then.
Sullivan Morgan split wide to the right. On the option play, Fitz Wilson keeps over right tackle and picks up about 5. Moves the ball to the 30-yard line.
A good read that time by Wilson on the defensive end. He read and looked it right in the face and kept the ball last minute, finally turned it up and put a pitch right at the last possible moment.
One thing that Cabrillo's not going to have to worry about, and that is that Fitz Wilson is an extremely intelligent young man. And he's going to play the ball game out there with his head as well as with his body. Mike Dio wide to the right for Cabrillo. On the option, the pitch back once again to Davis. Davis trying to get around the corner and fights for a hard 2 or 3 yards. Give him 2 on the play. It'll be third down. We'll give him 3. Third down and 2 for Cabrillo. Davis got that by himself.
Yes, he did. The right defensive tackle broke through and got his hands on him, but wasn't able to hold him. He slowed him up enough, though, probably to keep him from getting that first down.
Quarterback sneak by Fitz Wilson. Wilson down across the 25-yard line. Should be enough for the first down. So Cabrillo moving the ball steadily. Don't really seem to be bothered much, even though the Tigers are covering that runaround end a little bit better here as we get closer to the end zone.
John Roberts that time, a 6'1", 183-pound center with a good block on the nose guard, allowing Fitzgerald to get the necessary yardage for the first down.
Flowers and Tim Smart split to the right. Give up the middle, and Davis goes no place on that one. So Rod Davis finally gets stopped. They stood him up. That whole center of the defensive line by the Tigers doing a fine job on that play. So it'll be second and 10. The ball at the 24-yard line of the Tigers.
Kirk Clemens, a 5'11", 201-pound junior in the ball game now, replacing Soto at right offensive tackle for the Conquistadors.
The give is to Walton, and he's through the hole like a shot. Now that was a nice quick opener, and Walton didn't even slow down from the time he left his position in the backfield. A pickup of 10 yards. It's 1st and 10, so Walton with a great effort. What a great hole on the left side.
Well, they're having the opportunity to run behind both sides of the line. That time it was Miranda and McClanahan that opened up the hole on the left side of the line, and Soto and Sawyer able to do the same thing on the right side, so they're able to run up through that line pretty well right now.
Davis up the middle for about 5. It'll be 2nd and 5 for Cabrillo. Vivi Miranda, that guard, number 73 guard on the left side, I believe, is a converted back from last year. So a big, strong kid.
Yes, he is.
Doing a fine job for his first year on the line.
Vivi, 5'8", but he weighs 183 pounds, so he's hard to move around.
2nd and 5 from the 9. Fitz Wilson on a keeper, maybe just one. San Luis Obisbo's linebacker. It looks like the middle is wide open. Fitz Wilson puts that ball in the middle and they close it right down. 3rd and 3 to give it to Walton. Walton spinning and twisting, fighting for yardage. What a nice effort.
And about 2 minutes, 24 seconds left to go in the first quarter, no score. And now we're going to have a timeout while they bring the 6 in. It's that close to measure. Cabrillo has looked very well on this drive, starting at their own 20-yard line and moving the ball right downfield. And it looks from here as if they have made the first down. First down, Cabrillo.
Just by the nose again. Once again, it was the tough running of Kenny Walton. Put the ball across. So it's 1st and goal at the 4-yard line for Cabrillo. Wilson under center on the option. A nice heads-up play by number 82, 72. I thought it was 8.
Dan Hurley.
Head Wilson by the foot. Fitz with no progress. It'll be 2nd and goal at the 4. And there's a timeout on the field with no score in the ball game.
We have 1 minute 48 seconds to play in the first quarter, and we'll be back with the remainder of the first quarter after this. 1 minute 48 seconds left to play in the first quarter. Cabrillo with the ball at the 4-yard line of San Luis Obispo, and Cabrillo having dominated the first quarter but unable to put any points on the scoreboard, Gene.
They lost the ball in this is only their 2nd possession. They lost it the first possession. Fitz Wilson unable to control the ball on a rollout. Got it right back on a fumble by the opposing quarterback, Greg Port, in the end zone, and Cabrillo's marched from their own 20-yard line, and they're knocking at the door here, 2nd and goal from the 4. Might mention here, Ernie, Cabrillo here in the first quarter already with 82 yards on the ground. Wide to the right comes Smart and Flowers. The give once again to Davis. Davis tripped up by number 72, Cole, with a nice play. And at most, got a yard. Looks to me like no gain on the play at all.
And we got a flag holding against the Conquistadors, so that's going to move it back 15. So a break for the Tigers here with now 1:40 left to go in the quarter. I didn't see the flag go in there, but apparently it did.
So the first penalty of the ball game is going to go against Cabrillo. Tim Morgan into the ball game. He moves the ball all the way back to the 19-yard line. It'll be 2nd and goal from the 19 for Cabrillo. We're going to see now what the Conquistadors are made of here early in the ball game with not much experience. Walton and Davis in the backfield. Fitz Wilson, straight drop back, looking deep for Sullivan over his head. But Mike Sullivan not able to get to the ball. The well-thrown ball, that's as fine a ball as Fitz has thrown.
Led him just a little too much in the end zone, and Sullivan had his man beat and had some room to work back there in the end zone, but just overthrown.
So it's 3rd down and goal from the 19 for the Conquistadors. Going wide to the left is Mike Deal. Mike Sullivan to the right. Walton and Davis in the backfield. Wilson on the rollout. Dumps it over the top, and Kenny Walton can't hold on. Kenny Walton wide open, and the ball with a nice touch thrown into the left flat. Walton just couldn't haul it in, so it'll be 4th and goal from the 19-yard line for the Conquistadors.
Well, there was a case of Walton trying to run before he caught the football, and as you say, I think he would have probably gotten into the end zone had he caught the ball.
Ball was thrown a little bit behind him, but still catchable probably, but Walton hasn't had a lot of experience. He's playing for the first time in a varsity uniform, and it's got to be exciting for him. Great effort on Walton's part, and he has just done yeoman duty as a blocker, as you pointed out before. Mike Sullivan now going to try to kick the field goal. The ball be placed at the 26-yard line, and it's good. So, with 1 minute, 10 seconds remaining here in the first quarter, Mike Sullivan with an official 19-yard, 29-yard field goal to put the Conquistadors out on top by a score of 3-0, and we'll be back after this.
1 minute, 10 seconds left to go in the first quarter. Cabrillo first on the scoreboard, leading in the ball game by a score of 3-0 as a result of a 19-yard field goal by Mike Sullivan. And they kind of bogged down right at the end, Gene, but they moved the ball very well, and they ate up a lot of that clock in doing so. So Cabrillo able to play control football.
It was a very impressive drive. Stalled only by the penalty. I get the feeling very clearly that without the penalty, they certainly would have had the touchdown. So Sullivan, who just kicked the 36-yard field goal, will kick off for the Conquistadors. Back deep, number 23, Craig Griffin, and fumbling the ball, Steve Gray, and he is mowed down at about the 15-yard line. First contact being made by number 33, Steve Pyro.
And that's a tackler's dream to see him scrambling back there and not know you're coming. Pyro taking full advantage of that.
The ball is placed short of the 15 at about the 14-yard line, where it's 1st and 10 for the Tigers. And this only is the second possession here as we wind down the first quarter. The give is up the middle to number 32, Mike Castillo. Castillo with a pickup of 1. It's 2nd and 9. San Luis has to feel a little bit here like they've got to climb the hill. Ford on the give to Griffin, and Griffin is their bread and butter man, moves the ball up to the 17-yard line.
2 seconds, 1 second. That'll be the end of the first quarter. So with the score at the end of the first quarter, Cabrillo 3, San Luis Obispo Tigers nothing. We'll be back with the second quarter after this.
After 1 quarter of play, it's the Cabrillo Conquistadors 3 and the San Luis Obispo Tigers nothing. And San Luis with the ball, 3rd and 6 at their own 17-yard line as we open up here in the second quarter. San Luis has done nothing in their offense that we could consider to be particularly daring or surprising. The ball has been given to Griffin 4 times, Castillo once, and Port carried it once himself and fumbled. Port on the keeper, a naked reverse that was read excellently by the Cabrillo defense. And a big loss on the play all the way back to the 14-yard line. So a loss of 6. It's 4th down and 10, and San Luis will have to punt. So as we do a bit of jockeying here in the press box, there is timeout on the field with 11:28 left here in the first half. Cabrillo leads the San Luis Obispo Tigers by a score of 3-0, and we'll be back. No? The punt rolls dead at the Cabrillo 37-yard line, where the Conquistadors will take over. 1st and 10. Fitz Wilson, the senior quarterback, brings the Conquistadors back onto the field. The Conquistador offense has looked powerful against the Tiger defense. 1st and 10 at the 37-yard lines. Wilson back to pass. Over the middle to Scott Duncan at midfield. Duncan breaks a tackle, a flag down on the play as Duncan carries the ball to the Tiger 43-yard line, but I fear that's coming back.
Good pass, good route that time, run by Duncan, and unfortunately it's going to be a holding call against the Conquistadors. Fitzgerald Wilson with a lot of poise that time, stood in there, a little pressure on him, stepped up in the pocket and threw the ball well, I thought.
Wilson, who improved game by game last year in the passing department, shows us that he spent some time this summer and in practice earlier this year throwing the ball. That was a well-thrown ball with a lot of touch. Duncan wide open over the middle.
A good route that time, run by Duncan also. He came from he was lined up on the left side, came down across the middle, and that's something that's hard to get a receiver to do, is come across that middle and catch a football.
The 15-yard penalty will move the ball back to the 24-yard line, where it'll be 1st and 25 for the Conquistadors. A penalty put the stop on their last drive. I'd hate to see it do it here. Sullivan and Deal. Sullivan to the right, Deal split wide to the left. The give on the draw is to Watson. And Kenny Watson, showing some moves of his own, is up across the 35-yard line. Or Walton, rather. I apologize to Kenny. Kenny Walton with a fine run up to the 35-yard line. A pickup of 11 yards.
A good call that time, too. Cabrillo not trying to get it all back in one play. They realized it was 1st down. They've got 3 downs to get it back, and they're moving the ball well against the Tigers, so no reason to panic here.
2nd and 13, 14 yards for the Conquistadors. On the option to the left, the give is to Rod Davis. Davis gets a couple.
Just about back to the original line of scrimmage, so it'll be 3rd down now and 10 yards to go, 3rd and 11. for Cabrillo as they mark it at the 36-yard line. And we may see Wilson air it out here.
Score is 3-0. Cabrillo leads it here in the second quarter. On the rollout once again, Fitz Wilson. Intended for Duncan at the Tiger 40-yard line over his head. And once again, Fitz showing a nice touch on the ball. Didn't try to zing it, just wanted to get it over the defense. But it'll be 4th down and 11 for the Conquistadors.
They'll punt here, but when they get back to the sideline, Vincent Flowers is going to tell Wilson to look down because he was wide open underneath with plenty of running room, and I'm sure they'll come back with that play later on in the ballgame.
It's 4th down, and to do the punting for Cabrillo is number 55, John Roberts. Back deep to receive for San Luis Obispo, number 20, Steve Gray. A poor kick and a great bounce. The ball finally downed at the Tiger 30-yard line. It'll be San Luis Obispo, 1st and 10.
He got about 15 yards in the air, about a 20-yard roll on that one.
So San Luis now with an opportunity to try to come back. 9 minutes, 45 seconds remaining here in the first half. The ball resting on the Tiger 30-yard line where it's 1st and 10. Greg Port, the converted wide receiver quarterback for the Tigers, brings him to the line of scrimmage. Port on the crossbuck, and the ball's loose on the ground. Fumble recovered by Griffin. A pickup of yard and a half on the play. Give him 2. It'll be 2nd down and about 8.5. So the breaks go the way of the Tigers on that play.
Griffin, a real headsy ball player. He's around that football all the time.
Hurley comes wide right for the Tigers. Port on the keeper has got some room to run, and he's got some speed. Tim Morgan with the first contact, but not before Port brings the ball all the way up to the 48-yard line. Nice 16-yard pickup by Greg Port. This 1st and 10, the ball resting on the 48. Greg Port, being a receiver, has good speed, knows how to run with the ball.
Well,
showed it there.
Kurt Clemens is going to see that play on films a few times because he was totally taken.
Griffin on the crossbuck finds a big hole over left guard, and the ball once again loose on the ground, and the flag goes into the pile. So we'll see how it all comes out. Griffin with an impressive cut upfield. Referees trying to figure out what's going on with the ball resting on the Conquistador 44. Penalty will go against the Conquistador, an unnecessary roughness. And I suspect probably a spear in the middle of that pile-up.
I would think so. No, face mask.
Face mask.
Tower Davis and Craig Griffin becoming acquainted with each other on the last play, each one thinking himself an art out there.
That's only the 3rd penalty of the ball game. All 3 of those against the Conquistadors, all 3 of them for 15 yards. Hurley wide to the right as Port gives it up the middle. A wide hole up the middle as Mike Castillo rambles through the heart of the Cabrillo defense all the way to the 18-yard line. First and 10, and now it's San Luis showing a powerful offense, being aided by some defensive problems by Cabrillo, namely the penalties. First and 10. Port once again to Griffin. Griffin hit in the backfield, fights through the tackle. Scott Duncan nearly had him in the backfield. Griffin with no pickup on the play. It'll be 2nd and 10 at the 18-yard line. The quarterback for the Tigers is very quick.
Yes, he is. He's got 2 quick backs in there with him, too.
On the draw to Castillo, and Castillo's going to lose one. A loss of 1 on the draw. A nice call in that situation. Makes it 3rd and 11.
And San Luis calling a timeout, so it'll be 3rd down and 11. Cabrillo leading 3-0 with 7 minutes, 17 seconds left to play in the first half. We'll be back after this. 7 minutes, 17 seconds left to play in the half. Cabrillo leads 3-0, but the Tigers eat deep in Conquistador territory with a 3rd down 11 at the balls at the 20-yard line of the Conquistadors.
Ford on the keeper around the right side, and he can't find a hole. Finally being tripped up by number 65, David McClanahan, on a nice hit at the knees. Ford gets the ball down to about the 17-yard line to pick up a 3. But it'll be 4th down, so now we'll see if the Tigers have a foot.
This will be about a 28-yard attempt. If they intend to go for the field goal, it'll be about a 28-yard attempt from the right hash mark.
We don't have a name for the kicker. He's not on our roster, number 19. The ball being spotted at the 25. The kick is low and wide to the left. No good. So with 6 minutes, 24 seconds remaining here in the first half, the Cabrillo Conquistadors hold off the Tigers' surge and still lead it by a score of 3-0, and we'll be back.
Cabrillo's ball, 1st and 10 to go from their own 20-yard line. Fitzgerald Wilson calling signals. And the handoff is to Walton, and he's loose and running and comes all the way up to the 44-yard line, make it to 45 before he is brought down by number 86, Todd Dearman. So it'll be 1st and 10 for Cabrillo from their own 46-yard line. A good run that time by Walton.
Great run by Walton. Showed good moves and showed the speed that we've been waiting to see. Nice pickup by the Conquistadors of 25 yards. Kenny Walton and Rod Davis showing themselves to be a great tandem back there. 1st and 10 at the 45. The give up the middle to Davis. Davis gets 2. Not at all pleased about such a short game.
Good defensive play that time by Eric Morris, the defensive tackle, as he came right over a block by Roberts, the center, to make that play. Good defensive play that time by the tackle for San Luis Obispo.
2nd and 9 for the Conquistadors as Deal and Flowers go wide to the right. On the option, Fitz Wilson keeping the ball across midfield to the Tiger 45 and beyond. So Fitz Wilson on a nice 10-yard keeper, once again displaying that intelligence and pretty good moves for a quarterback.
It was, and another good thing was that Kenny Walton that time was the trailing back, stayed in that pitch position, so it made the end commit himself one way or the other, and Fitzgerald reading the play very well.
A straight dive up the middle to Walton. Pickup of about 3 on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 7. We have the name of the San Luis Obispo kicker who attempted the field goal. Number 19 for San Luis is Chris Trippi. 2nd down and 7. The ball resting at the 40-yard line. Wilson on the pitch, back to Davis. Davis gets around the corner for about 5 or 6.
Good block that time by Mike Sullivan on the corner, allowing him to gain what yardage he did because there were 3 people chasing him, and Sullivan just standing his ground and took 2 of them on, allowing Walton to turn upfield and gain some ground.
And that was a good hit at the sideline. Both those boys not giving it an inch. It's the way defensive play. It's the way you run with the ball. It'll be third down and about 3. The ball resting at the 36. Fitz Wilson, long count, takes it himself up the middle, right behind number 55, John Roberts. And a nice block by the center, moved out to the center defense, and Wilson moves the ball down to about the 32-yard line. It'll be a first down.
And something that Conquistadors are doing this year that we haven't seen probably since the 75 or 76 season, they're doing an awful lot of running this year from a split back, so which means that they have confidence in the running ability of both of those backs in the backfield.
Both those backs done a fine job. They both run hard, and I'm impressed with the quickness. Through the hole in a hurry. First and 10 at the 32. Wilson on the keeper, breaks the tackle and breaks loose over tackle. A great run by Fitz Wilson. Loses it. And finally is hauled down at the 10-yard line. What an effort by Fitz Wilson.
He broke 3 tackles that time.
Fitz got some nice blocks to open it up, ran against the grain, but still did a lot of it on his own. So Wilson, on the keeper, moves it all the way down to the San Luis Obispo Tiger 9-yard line from our vantage point. A 23-yard gain by Wilson on the keeper. And it's first and goal. Flowers wide to the left, deal to the right. The give is to Walton. Walton just climbs the ladder and falls off the other side for a couple.
Cabrillo actually on this drive showing that they have really 3 good running backs in that backfield with Wilson, Walton, and Davis. So far, San Luis not being able to key on any one person.
Tim Smart comes wide to the left with Vincent Flowers. Walton and Davis in the backfield. The pitch is back to Walton. Walton with a juke at the 5 and can't go any further. So maybe a little bit too much side to side that time, but Walton trying to make the end zone. A good effort.
Good defensive play by Paul Head, the defensive end to that side, who held his ground and wouldn't give anything up to Walton.
It's deja vu. It's 3rd and 4. A 3rd and goal from the 4 for the Conquistadors. This is where they suffered the penalty in the first quarter and had to settle for the field goal. Flowers once again to the left. Morgan goes wide right. And we have a penalty flag. An offside and encroachment penalty by the Tigers.
That's the first penalty, I think, against the Tigers tonight, isn't it?
First penalty against the Tigers, right.
Very inopportune time to get it, but
half the distance, it'll be 3rd and goal from the 3.
2 minutes, 30 seconds left to play in the first half. The score, Cabrillo Conquistadors 3, the San Luis Obispo Tigers 0. This is the first game of the season for both schools. And Cabrillo with a 3rd down, 2 yards to go for a touchdown. And as we were saying before the break, Scott Duncan looking very well at tight end for Cabrillo, Gene.
On the option to the left, the give is to the big man Walton. And Kenny Walton is into the end zone for the Conquistadors with 2:25 remaining in the first half. Ken Walton in from the 2-yard line.
There again, Kenny Walton just showing just an enormous amount of power as he hit into the line, spun away, and rolled in, never giving up and getting in there to score that touchdown, doing most of it on his own.
Kenny Walton, only a junior, 6'1" junior, 175 pounds. Mike Sullivan now with the try for the point after. And the kick is up and good. So it's with 2 minutes, 25 seconds remaining here in the first half. The Cabrillo Conquistadors lead the San Luis Obispo Tigers by a score of 10-0. And we'll be back with the kickoff after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Merry Christmas!
Surely there must be something you can do.
I'm doing everything I can. And stop calling me Shirley.
25 left to go in the first half. Cabrillo having just scored a touchdown on a 2-yard plunge by Walton. And both teams moving the ball relatively well, Gene, but not a lot of points on the scoreboard.
Got a lot of yards. Cabrillo's run up and down the field a couple of times. San Luis Obispo moved the ball extremely well in their second possession, and yet only 1 touchdown and 2 field goal attempts. Sullivan to kick the ball off, back deep to receive for San Luis are Gray and Griffin. The ball taken by Gray at the 10-yard line. And Gray tripped up by Scott Duncan, and Mike Warden falls forward to about the 30-yard line. They'll spot it just short of the 30. First and 10 Tigers.
That time, if Gray had kept his feet, he probably could have gained a little more ground because he just kind of dove into the ground at about the 22-yard line.
The ball being spotted at the 29 where it's first and 10. Dan Hurley wide right. In the backfield for the Tigers is Griffin and Castillo. Port, the quick pass out here to Hurley. And Hurley gathers it in across the 30-yard line at about the 33.
Not a bad defensive play that time, though, by number 48 Flowers of the Conquistadors. He was playing loose off of Hurley, not going to let Hurley get deep on him with this little time remaining in the ball game. Came up very quickly to make the tackle.
Pick up of 4 yards. It's second and 6 from the 33. Once again, Port to throw the ball. And he has Hurley again over the middle. Hurley gathering it in at the 45-yard line, moves the ball to the 48.
New wrinkle from the Tigers. Port can throw that football, too.
So first and 10 with 1 minute, 25 seconds on the clock. The Tigers at their own 48-yard line. Ford on the give to Griffin. The reverse. The reverse to Ty Buckle coming out of that wingback position. And Buckle moving the ball all the way down to the 42-yard line of Cabrillo.
But it had not been for Fitzgerald Wilson playing the free safety that time, Buckle had room to run, too.
10-yard pickup on the reverse. It's first and 10 at the 38-yard line. The pass over the middle, nearly intercepted by number 62, Gary Soik. Intended for 82, Dan Hurley.
Good drop that time by Soik, the linebacker, on the right side. And like you said, if he didn't have so much tape and padding on his hand, he may have caught that ball.
So it'll be second down and 10 at the ball being marked at the 37-yard line.
But he's an offensive lineman. They don't dress to catch a lot of passes.
No, not usually. Not usually. Probably surprised him as much as it did Hurley. Dan Hurley once again out to the right side. Port keeps the ball around the right side. And he's leveled by Wilson and finally nailed down by Vincent Flowers. Gary Soik in on the pursuit. But Port moves the ball down to the 26-yard line, an 11-yard pickup, another first down. So San Luis going for broke here in the waning seconds of the first half.
San Luis doing a lot of things, a lot of wrinkles, running a lot of trick plays here. Not trick plays, but a lot of plays against the grain, and it's got the cocks crossed up a little bit.
The last 2 plays worked very well for the Tigers. 47 seconds. And Port simply throws the ball away, and we'll have a grounding penalty. The receiver came over the middle, and Port threw it to the sidelines, trying to stop the clock.
We're going to get a boo.
Grounded.
We're going to get a boo, but that was a good call that time. That was a high school mistake on the part of the coaching staff, I think. You should have called somebody to go that way. Had somebody made an effort to go that way, then there wouldn't have been a penalty. But a good call that time by the referee.
That's one of those plays that you never run in practice, and the coach sends in during the game from the bench, says throw the ball away to stop the clock,
Yeah.
and the receiver doesn't remember he's got to go there too.
Yeah, he's got to go that way. He's got to make an effort to get out there.
So it'll be loss of down, and a 5-yard penalty moves the ball back to the 32-yard line.
And from what I have seen from the kicker for San Luis, that may have moved them out of field goal range.
42 seconds. They did stop the clock, but they didn't get what they hoped out of it. Second down, 15 yards for the Tigers. Hurley goes to the wide side of the field. And we'll have a pass interference call, this time on Mike Sullivan. Mike Sullivan bumped Hurley, but the ball was in the air. Sullivan played tough defense. That was a nice play on his part.
Nice play on his part, and you know, here again, this is first game and jitters, I think. But again, a good call.
So we'll count 15 yards. The fourth 15-yard penalty on the Conquistadors here in the first half.
And that gives the Tigers a first down, so 2 penalties, and the Tigers really accomplishing what they wanted out of it.
Todd Dearman splits wide to the left for the Tigers. Castillo and Griffin in the backfield. Port going for Dearman in the corner of the end zone. On a timing play, just threw it up and wanted Dearman to run under it. Dearman covered by Mike Sullivan. The pass falls incomplete. It'll be second down and 10.
Now, one thing that Sullivan has got not to do now, and that's not be intimidated by that penalty that was called against him. He's still got to be aggressive on that corner and come up and play the receiver. If he gets called for the penalty, so that's just one of the chances he's going to have to take.
Port fakes it to Dearman, throws it over the center. Nice concentration and a great catch by Paul Head. Now that was impressive. The defense had him covered on all sides. They broke the ball up. He concentrated and took it down for a nice gain. Paul Head for San Luis, a senior, 6'2", 205 pounds.
So we get a timeout while they bring the sticks in, the chains in for a measurement.
So we'll wait and see what Paul Head did, and that may be the most impressive play of the quarter. And it's a first down. So with 13 seconds remaining here in the half, San Luis Obispo knocking on the door, Ernie.
First and goal to go, and the Conks just seem to have been confused this whole series.
Port has Castillo wide open in the end zone and couldn't put it in there.
Here again, no coverage at all on the right side defensively for the Conquistadors. And with the game as close as it is, it may not be a bad idea with 8 seconds left for the Conks to call a timeout and really get their defense together, because they're just floundering out there now.
Nobody covering Castillo out of the backfield. It's second and goal from about the 6-yard line for the Tigers. And we have whistles.
That'll move it back 5 yards. A lot of motion in the offensive line of the Tigers. Here again, another mistake, and it's going to cost them. What they call
outside Cabrillo.
Conquistadors, right?
Move the ball to the 3-yard line. It's the first time Cabrillo's not been penalized for 15.
Yeah. Someone must have lined up in the neutral zone, because all the motion was in the black jersey.
So it'll be second down and goal now from the 3-yard line for the Tigers. And again, the second series in a row, the Tigers very impressive. They're eating a lot of time off the clock. We're down to 6 seconds, 5 and counting, as Port brings them up in a hurry. 3 seconds. Greg Port is trapped in the backfield and finally flung to the earth by David McClanahan. A loss on the play of 7 yards as the first half ends the Cabrillo Conquistadors out in front of the Tigers by a score of 10-0. And we'll be back. How about a Fresca?
Watch this.
I don't know why they call this stuff hamburger helper. It does just fine by itself, huh?
I have to think like an animal. Whenever possible, to look like one.
We thought they were moving the ball very well up and down the field, but then as we took the stats and looked at it, very few yardage, as they actually gained most of it on penalties. So really not a lot offensively from the Tigers.
48 yards in penalties against the Conquistadors, some of those coming in that last drive. I have on the ground for the Tigers only 54 yards. The big carrier for them is Griffin. He's had the ball 6 times. Port, the quarterback, with 17 yards, has the most success. They've thrown the ball well. They have 30 yards in the air on 3 receptions, but just it doesn't show as well as it seemed to as we looked at it, like you mentioned. For Cabrillo, on the other hand, 175 yards on the ground in the first half.
And that being split pretty much evenly between the 3 running back, or between the 3 backs, Wilson, Davis, and Walton. Davis with 61, looks like Wilson with 52, and Walton with 62. So that's pretty evenly split among the 3 backs in the backfield. Wilson with 1 good pass to Scott Duncan, and for 12 yards, and that has been the offense of the Conquistadors. Adjustments. Cabrillo definitely is going to have to make some defensive adjustments at halftime, because on that last drive of the Tigers, it appeared that they had their defense had completely broken down.
Anything that was misdirection seemed to give the Cabrillo defense fits. To speak of the scoring, with 1:10 remaining in the first quarter, Mike Sullivan kicked a 36-yard field goal, and then with 2:25 remaining in the first half, Kenny Walton took it over from 2 yards out to make the score 10-0. And it's been an exciting ball game to watch. I think we're going to, as you mentioned, we're going to watch that defense here in the second half.
Well, we're just about the captains in the center of the field. We have a penalty of delaying the game called against the San Luis Obispo Tigers, and so the ball will be kicked off. It will be a 5-yard penalty called against the Tigers to start the second half. And that's for delaying the game. And we'll be back with the second half kickoff after this. So Cabrillo kicking off from the 45-yard line of the Tigers. So that's an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty called against the Tigers. It will be Sullivan to kick off for the Conquistadors. The Conks lead 10-0. We're just starting the second half.
Back deep to receive for the Tigers. Number 20 is Steve Gray. Number 23, Craig Griffin. Mike Sullivan foots the ball, and we're underway here in the second half. Gray, once again, with the kickoff up the middle, is finally pulled down at about the 20-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10, San Luis Obispo.
Gene, I'm not real impressed with this San Luis running back kicks and kickoffs. It appears that when they get ready to get hit, they could get 4 or 5 more yards if they just keep their feet and keep running. Instead, they're diving almost into the ground.
Looks like they're just trying to make do. Hurley, wide to the left. Greg Port at quarterback. First give is to Griffin. Griffin over right guard for about 7 yards. Griffin looks good when he goes. He's got nice moves, cuts on a dime.
Well, Cabrillo's defense, maybe we were a little harsh on them. They pursue well. That's one thing that they do well, so it covers up a lot of mistakes that possibly would be made by a defense that was a little slower moving than they are.
2nd down and 3. Ball at the 27. Port with the ball on the right side. Just cannot get past the rush, and the ball's loose on the ground again. And that was impressive defense on the part of the Conquistadors.
Yeah, they rose to the occasion that time. I was reaching across you because on the previous play, the umpire, John Rupsik, of course, this is his first game too, but he better learn how to get out of the way because he almost got in the middle of that last running play by the Tigers. long loss on the play. It'll be third down now and about 13 for the Tigers.
A loss of 14 yards on the play. It'll be third down. McClanahan leading that charge on that play. Ford wants to throw the ball. He's looking for Hurley. No, he's got Griffin on the right side. Griffin picks it up off the grass. And evades the tackle attempt by Jay Tiemann and finally dragged down back there by Mike Sullivan. So
Tiemann a little slow getting out on pass coverage that time. And this is something he's going to have to learn. This is his first real year at linebacker. And I happened to be watching him on that play, and on the snap of the ball, he took that step to the line of scrimmage, and it was just enough to throw him out of position.
10-yard pickup on the pass play. So it'll be fourth down and 4 yards. The ball resting on the San Luis Obispo 27-yard line. The Tigers seemingly confused about what they want to do here. And now we have a penalty will be delay. When it rains, it pours.
It does. Here again, that's another coaching mistake. The coach of the Tigers had Port standing on the sideline talking to him, and Port should have been in the ball game.
San Luis with only 7 yards of penalties in the first half, already with 20 here in the second half, as Gray goes back to kick for the Tigers. Back deep to receive are Flowers and Davis. Flowers with the ball, and he's got some speed. Brings the ball back to the Tiger 45-yard line. And Vincent showed some speed right there.
Yeah, but a good defensive play that time, though, by Mike Castillo, because he ran Vincent down and put a good chokehold on him and bringing him down to the ground. So a good defensive play that time, but as you say, Flowers had some speed there.
It'll be first and 10 for the Conquistadors at the Tiger 45-yard line. Morgan and Sullivan both come wide to the right. It'll be Walton and Davis in the backfield with Fitz Wilson for the Conquistadors. The give is to Walton, and Walton is loose. And a shoestring tackle by number 68, Larry Nash, is about everything that kept Walton from picking up another 20 yards.
Good run that time by Walton. And I think that the advantage that Walton has over a lot of backs that have been in Cabrillo in the latter years is that he is awful quick off the ball.
Both Walton and Davis, that's the one thing that's extremely impressive this year. Cabrillo seems to be running more for finesse this year than power. First down, 10 yards. The give once again is to Walton, the same play, and he's off and running. He's down to the 10, to the 5, and Walton scores from the 32-yard line.
And here again, he just showed that he gets to that line of scrimmage, and of course, offensively, that's what an offensive line likes to see. You don't have to hold those blocks as long, and he spurts right through those holes.
8:44 remaining here in the third quarter as Kenny Walton tacks on his second, and he is fast, and it was nothing but a straight line.
That's true, and credit should be given to the left side of that line, offensive line of the Conquistadors. It's McClanahan and Miranda, as they opened up a big wide hole on both of those plays.
Mike Sullivan with the point after attempt, and it's good. So with 8 minutes, 44 seconds remaining in the third quarter, the Conquistadors now lead the Tigers by a score of 17-0. We'll be back after this.
He hates these cans! Stay away from the cans!
Hey, you want to make $14 the hard way?
17-0 the score. Cabrillo having just scored on a 31-yard run by Walton. And Walton looked impressive on that drive, as did the left side of the offensive line of the Conquistadors.
Mike Sullivan now with 5 points in the ball game, getting set to kick off to the Tigers. Back deep once again, Griffin and Gray to receive. Kick fielded by a lineman up tight at the 45-yard line and finally buried at the 43-yard line.
It was Eric Morris that picked the ball up, and I really believe Sullivan missed the ball that time.
It looked like it. But that was a heads-up move by Eric Morris, the up man. So the Tigers with good field position as they start here their second possession in the second half. 1st and 10 at their own 43-yard line. Port gives the ball to Griffin. Griffin into the line of scrimmage and maybe gets one. The tackle being put on down there by number 85, Scott Duncan. Duncan just plays the game 100% from the time it starts to the time it's over.
Duncan, a good linebacker. He played well for them last year, and he has looked impressive both offensively and defensively this year so far.
Castillo and Griffin in the backfield, the setbacks. Hurley split wide to the left. The give once again is to Griffin, or rather to Castillo. The ball to Castillo. Once again, Duncan on the stop. A pickup on the play of about 6. Five-yard gain on the play. It'll be 3rd down and 5 yards for the Tigers. The ball resting at the 48-yard line. Ford on the bootleg right. He's got some speed and he can run. He's down across the 40-yard line to the 38 before being brought down by Vincent Flowers, among others. And that was quick. Once again, Port showing his move.
And that's the thing that they did at the latter part of the first half that was seeming to cause the Conquistadors a lot of problems. And here again, there was nobody on that side really to cover him. They had to pursue to get to him.
1st and 10 at the 38-yard line of the Conquistadors. Once again, San Luis moving the ball. Griffin with the ball behind a pulling guard, and he gets a couple. Mike Marcelli in on the stop.
Griffin lost his footing there, or he may have been able to gain 3 or 4 more yards before being brought down.
2nd and 8. Ball at the 36-yard line. Ty Buckle at the wing. Hurley goes wide to the right. Castillo and Griffin in the backfield with Port. It's a reverse to Buckle. And Buckle off and running around the right side. Nice blocking by the San Luis line. Mike Marcelli once again with a vicious hit to put him on the ground.
But here again, anything that's not straight ahead or going with the flow seeming to be a problem for the Conks.
13-yard pickup by Craig Griffin. Griffin only 5'10", 165 pounds. Or rather, Ty Buckle on the reverse, who is 5'9", he's only a sophomore, 150 pounds. The keeper this time again by Port. Port wrapped up by Jay Tiemann and John Roberts. Might have got a couple. The 2nd and 8 at the 25 for the Tigers on the move.
And here again, Gene, the Tigers moving the ball down the field very steadily against the Conquistadors. Mostly with the razzle-dazzle.
Anything that's misdirection seems to hold up well. The give was to Castillo up the middle. Mike Castillo fights his way down across the 25 to about the 21-yard line. Rather to the 16. It's hard to tell from this angle once again. He's down to the 16-yard line. A pickup of about 4, where it's 3rd down and 3. Ford on the draw. Gives the ball to Castillo, and Castillo runs into the blocker and is pulled down by big number 75, J.J. Moore, 79 rather, Ruben Soto.
Well, Ruben got a grip that time, and he wasn't going to let him go. If he had gone into that end zone that time, he was going to take Ruben Soto with him.
4th and 4, the ball at the 16-yard line. And the Tigers elect to go for it here with 4:19 remaining in the third quarter. They trail by 17. Port gives the ball up the middle to Griffin. And there's a runner. He's a halfback. Craig Griffin carries the ball down to about the 10-yard line and a first down. So it's first and goal from the 10. That was a very heady call by the Tiger coaching staff. Once again, the Buckle on the reverse, and Buckle is wide open on the right side. Vincent Flowers drags him down at about the 2.
Here again, a reverse that time, and as you say, misdirection, just a nemesis for the Conks.
So Ty Buckle, a sophomore, hauls it down to about the 3-yard line. He's got nearly 20 yards here in the third quarter on 2 carries. The give is to, once again, the keeper, the fake to Griffin up the middle, and Port kept the ball and carried it in the end zone. We have a flag and then another flag after the play is whistled dead, and I think that'll go against Mike Marcelli for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Well, the first flag is going to be against the wingback for San Luis move before the snap of the ball.
Motion penalty on San Luis. Dead ball foul, unsportsmanlike conduct against Cabrillo, and that was Mike Marcelli.
That's unfortunate on the part of San Luis because it was obvious. It was an obvious penalty. He came up on the early out of his 3-point stance, but that play was well designed and well run by the Tigers.
There'll be a 5-yard penalty against the San Luis Obispo Tigers and a 3.5-yard penalty, 4-yard penalty against Cabrillo, half the distance. The ball now on the 4-yard line.
Still second down.
That would have been the 5th 15-yard penalty on Cabrillo in the ball game had they been in midfield. So it's second down and goal at the 4 for San Luis. 3:16 remaining here in the third quarter. Cabrillo leads 17-0. San Luis knocking at the door. Port wants to throw the ball, evades the rush, and takes it in.
A good play that time by Port, kept his head. The play that was called was a pass play, and for the first time, Cabrillo had the receivers covered relatively well, and the defensive line broke down.
So at 3 minutes, 11 seconds remaining in the third quarter, the quarterback, Greg Port, on a busted play, evades the tackle of Tawa Davis and hauls it in from 4. That makes the score 17-6. And Chris Triffy, number 19, into the ballgame for the Tigers to attempt the point after. Triffy's kick is up, and it's good. So with 3 minutes, 11 seconds remaining in the third quarter, it's the Cabrillo Conquistadors 17 and the San Luis Obispo Tigers 7. We'll be back.
See if you can guess what I am now.
Hey, Wang, what's with the pictures? It's a parking lot. Come on, will you?
17-7 the score. Cabrillo on top. We're in the third quarter of play from San Luis Obispo High School, with the quarterback Greg Port having just scored for San Luis on an impressive drive by the Tigers. And it seems that misdirection is going to be the nemesis of the Conks if tonight's any indication of what's going to be for the year, Gene.
The Cabrillo defense, I think, as we talked while we were listening to those messages, getting a little anxious now, not staying home, trying to play the action rather than the position. So we'll see what Coach Radford's staff does to take care of that problem here in the second half. Kicking off for the Tigers will be number 60, Rudy Binkley. Back deep to receive is number 25, Mike Sullivan, for the Conquistadors. Short kick's going to be fielded by Vincent Flowers at the 15-yard line. Flowers gets it up across the 20 to the 21-yard line. First and 10 for the Conquistadors at their own 21-yard line. And Cabrillo badly needs a touchdown in this series of downs.
Well, they do. They need to come down and score because the momentum has certainly swung to the Tigers after that long, impressive drive.
Morgan and Sullivan wide to the right. The give is to Walton on the play that got him his touchdown, and Walton fights his way forward for 3 or 4 yards. It'll be second down and 6 for Cabrillo.
Both teams with the jitters here, and I don't know why they would have them this far into the third quarter, but that time when the play started, St. Louis only had 10 men on the field. Craig Griffin was over on the sideline.
Mike Deal and Sullivan to the right. Fitz Wilson on the keeper, pitches back to Davis. And it's everything Davis can do to get the ball back to the line of scrimmage. That's Rod Davis's first carry here in the second half.
So the Tigers making some definite adjustments at halftime defensively and have shut down the Conks, at least they shut the option down the 2 times that they've tried to run it here in the second half.
Third down and 7 for Cabrillo. Wilson wants to throw the ball, and the ball is short of number 48, Vincent Flowers. So it'll be 4th down and 7, and for the first time, if memory serves, Cabrillo kicked the ball away. Second time, Cabrillo will kick the ball away. First time it was a short kick and a long roll in the first half. So perhaps Chomer Smoot could be used right here. John Roberts back to do the punting for Cabrillo. Kick fielded rather. Gray lets it bounce. It called for the fair catch and lets it bounce, and it gets another good roll all the way down to the 26-yard line. The Tigers will start again, 1st and 10 at their own 26.
Well, Gene, we're going to have to see. Now, the Conks have had a chance to get their defensive team on the sideline and talk to them about staying home on these misdirection plays, and I think you hit it right on the head. Everybody's chasing the play, chasing the flow, and St. Louis at halftime making that adjustment, coming back and just running against it.
1 minute and 15 seconds remaining here in the third quarter as St. Louis comes out looking for another one. A touchdown here could make it a ball game. Port gives the ball off to Castillo.
Yeah.
And the blitzing linebackers nails Castillo in the backfield. I believe that was Duncan once again. A loss of 4 yards on the play. It'll be second down and 14. Hurley wide to the left. Port brings him up. Port to Hurley. Through his hands. He was wide open for a nice gain. Just couldn't hold on, and the ball falls incomplete. Hurley coming out limping. That's something we might want to watch here in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. And all the action is not on the field.
We had quite a few people over on the side there sitting up on the grass enjoying it on a good night, and all of a sudden the sprinklers came on.
So all the action is not on the field. Some of the best moves we've seen tonight have been on that hillside. Third down, 14. Port wants to throw the screen pass. Gets it to Ty Buckle, the sophomore. Buckle looking for some room to run, and is finally dragged down. That screen pass was well established beyond the rushing lineman, and then just died once Buckle had the ball.
Well, that was a case there, again, of Cabrillo with their pursuit and being able to pursue quickly. They got back and shut it down, and they did a good job on it.
So pick up on the play of 7 yards. It'll be 4th down and 8. 4th down and 7 for the Tigers, and Steve Gray will go back to kick the ball away as the third quarter ends. At the end of 3 quarters of play, it is the Cabrillo Conquistadors 17 and the San Luis Obispo Tigers 7. We'll be back with the final quarter of play right after these messages.
Hi, Don. What the?
Ah, help me, Oprah Winfrey!
One more quarter of football left to play. The Cabrillo Conquistadors leading in the ball game. We'll get it straight before the season's out. And leading in the ball game 17-7. And it'll be San Luis's ball now, 4th down, 8. And they're back in punt formation. And again, Greg Port doing a good job on running that screen that time, Gene.
He played it very well, let the defense rush. Back deep to receive Vincent Flowers, number 48, 23, Kenny Walton. A poor kick on the ground. And the roll brings it up to the 30-yard line, and I'll wager the coach going to talk to Vincent Flowers.
Well, yes, he should. Although right at the end, he probably did the smartest thing he could do and get away from the football.
Right. So Vincent Flowers showing some smarts there, staying away from the ball. A rolling football is one of the most difficult things to pick up, and yet high school football players love to try.
Yeah, Flowers a junior, too. 5'8", 140 pounds, so...
And he's going to be a good one for him. They're
Yes, he
going
is.
to use him a lot. He has shown some real spark here in this ball game. Morgan and Sullivan come wide to the left as the Conquistadors start from their own 30-yard line, 1st and 10. The give up the middle to Walton. And Walton just horses his way for 7 yards, or at least 2nd and 3.
You know, Walton's a big kid, 6'1", 175 pounds, and he's just a junior, so he's got some growing to do yet, especially put some weight on, and he's quick.
He's a very strong kid, extremely well built. 2nd down, 3 yards for the Conquistadors. The ball at the 37. The fake is to Walton, the pitch back to Davis. Davis has got some green. Cuts inside the block by Tiemann and is across midfield to the 48-yard line.
Good run that time by Davis, and an extremely good block by Jay Tiemann on that time to give him some running room. Or Mike Deal it was.
Deal held the block a long time.
Mike Deal, number 80. He made a good block out there to spring him loose.
But Davis with a 15-yard pickup, his first positive ground gain here in the second half, gives the Cabrillo Conquistadors a 1st down on the Tiger 48-yard line. The give once again up the middle goes to Rod Davis, and Davis squirts through a nice hole in that line, down across the 45 to the 44-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 6.
And you can certainly give credit for that to the quarterback for the Conquistadors, Fitzgerald Wilson, the nose guard that time, actually followed him across, thought he still had the football, and that opened the center right up, opened the middle right up for
Fitz
Davis.
actually handed that ball off behind himself.
Yes,
he was rolling wide. Flowers and Deal to the right. The give is to Walton, and Walton's got some room to run, and he's taking it down the sideline, finally run out of bounds at the 20-yard line by number 86, Todd Dearman. And that play has been bread and butter for the Conquistadors.
Cabrillo in the second half running extremely well to the left side of that offensive line.
A 23-yard pickup gives the Conquistadors a 1st and 10 at the 21-yard line, and they're on the move again. I tell you, both offenses either look just great or both teams need to work on some defense.
That's right.
Tim Smart wide to the left as the handoff goes to Davis up the middle. Davis down across the 15 to the 14-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 3.
Clements in at left offensive tackle now for the Conquistadors, giving McClanahan a break. And this is something that the Conks are doing tonight that they haven't had the luxury of doing for so many years, and that's rest those offensive linemen. But this Clements, they have a lot of confidence in him, and he's playing a lot and playing well.
Second, a short 3 for the Conquistador. Walton over tackle, and Walton once again breaks through and brings the ball down to the 10-yard line, where it'll be 1st and 10.
To elaborate a little more on Kurt Clements, he's a 201-pound junior tackle, and he is playing very well for him offensively.
I'll tell you, if things continue to go like this for the Conquistadors, there's no team's going to be able to key on either one of these two backs. When they key on Walton, Davis is going to run him ragged. And when they key on Davis, Walton is going to get rich. 1st and goal from the 10. Give once again over guard. The ball now very close to the end zone.
And they this time go to the right side of the offensive line, so apparently those men over there heard me because they opened up a good hole over there. Getting back to what you were talking about earlier, they've got Walton, they've got Davis, and then if you key on both of them, Fitzgerald Wilson, not a bad ball carrier himself.
And all of them with good speed, and all of them run very intelligently. Vincent Flowers wide to the right. It's 2nd and goal from the 1-foot line. Fitzgerald Wilson wanted it, and perhaps got it on the 2nd effort, but I'll tell you, I didn't get the number of the nose guard for San Luis, but he took the center, number 55, John Roberts, and stood him straight up in the air.
He stood him straight up in the air and knocked Fitzgerald Wilson back about 2 yards, but Fitzgerald able to bounce off and go in on the 2nd effort. But you're right, it wasn't his fault that they got into that end zone.
No, John Roberts did all he could, but he was just overmatched on that particular play. But Wilson, in from 1 yard, makes the score 23-7. The Conquistadors with 8:25 remaining. Mike Sullivan with a point after, and it's good.
Sullivan been true all night with the field goal and all 3 extra points, and he's looking good here early in the season. 8 minutes, 25 seconds left to play in the ball game. The Conquistadors leading in the ball game now 24-7. We'll be back with the kickoff after this.
8:25 remaining here in the ball game. Cabrillo leads it by a score of 24-7, and the offense very impressive in that drive.
They were, and that's what they needed to do, was come back and score again after San Luis scored to get some confidence in that offense.
Sullivan kicks the ball off. It's taken short by Steve Gray at the 20-yard line. Gray up the middle. Advances the ball all the way to the 40-yard line before being brought down by number 80, Mike Deal, a senior, 6'2", 152 pounds.
Deal on a good defensive play, too, because he broke that wedge and then made a good tackle on the ball carrier.
1st and 10 at the Tiger 40-yard line. Good field position. San Luis been very effective here in the second half with misdirection and reverse action plays.
Well, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of it from here on for the remainder of this ball game, because I'm sure their coaching staff realizes that they are able to move the ball against Cabrillo.
Port, the give straight up the middle to Greg Griffin. Greg Griffin up across the 40 to the 41, a pickup of 1 yard. And it's 2nd and 9. Scott Duncan, an imposing force when he steps up there to show the blitz. Port on the give to Gray. Gray tries the left side and moves the ball to the 45-yard line. Four-yard pickup. It'll be 3rd down and 5 yards. They give him 6. 3rd and 4 yards for the Tigers. That's Gray's first carry from the halfback position in the ball game. Port. The reverse to Buckle. And Ty Buckle, for the first time all night, goes no place. In fact, he loses 3.
Well, I can say this. Didn't even watch the play that time. I was watching the reaction because I anticipated them running some kind of a trick play that time, or a cross-buck type play. Somebody has talked to the Conks because everybody stayed home that time. And as a result, you can see the difference in...
On that wingback reverse, Port, the quarterback, gives it to Griffin, who hands it off to Buckle. That time it didn't work, so Steve Gray now back to kick. The fake punt, and Gray brings it around the right side, gets past Towel Davis. He's across midfield, the first down, the 45 to the 40-yard line. Jim Morgan finally running Steve Gray out of bounds at the Cabrillo 40-yard line.
Anything different seems to be cause problems for the Conk defense.
Number 35 for the Conquistadors, Tawa Davis, had Gray nailed, and Gray put a move on Davis and went wide open to the inside. Tawa Davis played his position very well. There was just nobody else to help him along. So it's 1st and 10 Tigers at the Cabrillo 40-yard line. And the ball's loose on the ground. Gray couldn't hold it. And that ball recovered by the Cabrillo Conquistadors.
Well, that's unfortunate because they had just after a big play like that to come back and fumble the ball away, and that's got to take something out of a ball club.
I didn't see the player who recovered that ball for the white-clad Cabrillo Conquistadors. Sporting the new jerseys tonight, we have to mention. But it's 1st and 10 Cabrillo at their own 40, and that's a big break. 5:57 remaining. Wilson wants to throw the ball. Mike Sullivan. That ball not thrown particularly well. Wilson being rushed very hard by number 81, Paul Head.
Well, I was going to comment earlier. I thought we'd see Cabrillo throw the ball a lot more tonight after having watched their scrimmage Saturday. But I think that's just the first pass they've even attempted here in the second half.
They've been so successful on the ground they haven't needed to go to the air. I talked to Coach Ed Knowles before the ball game tonight, and he indicated they'd probably throw the ball a little bit more than we're used to seeing Cabrillo throw, but they haven't really needed to. 2nd down, 10 yards. The pitch is to Kenny Walton, and Walton once again has some green, and he's across the 50-yard line. Run out of bounds at the 49. It'll be 1st and 10 Conquistadors.
Walton has what is known as quick feet. Did you see him pick them up?
Yes, indeed. And when his feet get out there, the rest of that body goes along pretty fast.
Yeah, he does, but he has quick feet. He picks them up off the ground. He literally walked away from one tackle.
Short strides, got good control, good balance all the time, and that makes all the difference. The ball at the 49-yard line, 48-yard line of the Tigers. It's 1st and 10. And I'll tell you, the second half for Kenny Walton has been a good one.
Well, the first half was good for Kenny Walton. And he broke out of here, and he's going to be the dominant back, it appears, in that backfield.
Walton with 62 yards in the first half. Fitz Wilson again wants to throw the ball. Finally gets it away short. Falls incomplete at the 40-yard line. Intended for Duncan. But I think Mike Deal's going to go back and talk. Mike Deal was wide open at the 40-yard line. Wasn't anybody within 5 yards.
That's easy for us to see and easy for Mike Deal to see, but when you're being chased around back there. I thought Walton was wide open also, number 23, to the left side. But, of course, Fitzgerald was looking down the right side.
2nd and 10 as Tim Smart and Vince Flowers come wide to the left. The give is up the middle to Kenny Walton, and he's off and running again. Kenny Walton run out of bounds at the 32-yard line. 16-yard pickup, and he is out of his crouch and through the line before you can see. 5 minutes, 26 seconds remaining here in the ball game.
And that's not bad. Cabrillo now I think they're throwing some passes, and this is turning now into a pretty good scrimmage for them.
Walton with nearly 100 yards here in the second half gets the call. No, this time the call to number 20, Mike Marcelli, and Marcelli gallops through the line. down to the 21-yard line. And that should be another first down for Cabrillo. It's going to be close. Marcelli looked like a deer going through the line.
Yeah, he did. Here again, he running not with what you would call sprinter type speed, but quickness.
The first down, pickup of 11 on the play, the ball at the 21-yard line. And Cabrillo now pretty much running through the middle of that San Luis Obispo line. But we have to understand that defensive line has played the whole game, defensively and offensively, for the Tigers. Fitz Wilson, this time, no time to make the pitch. He's nailed and nailed quickly by Larry Nash, a 5'9", 175-pound junior, before he could even get out of the backfield. A loss of 4 on the play for Fitz. 2nd and 14, the ball at the 26. Four and a half minutes remaining in the ball game. The give up the middle once again to Marcelli. Marcelli with a nice cut to the outside. And Mike Marcelli down to the 5-yard line.
So Marcelli in there now in place of Walton, and there doesn't seem to be that much of a difference in the offense of the Conquistadors. So
big hole on the left side once again. We commented on that in the first half. The offensive line of Cabrillo just doing a fantastic job of opening up the holes. But we still have to remember that defensive line for San Luis been on the field all night long. It's something that they're going to have to put up with all season long with such a short roster. Only 25 people, 26 people on the printed roster. Wholesale substitutions now for the Tigers as Marcelli gets the call at the 5. Marcelli down to the 1. So Marcelli with 35 yards here in the last minute of play.
And I think you hit it right on the head, and certainly these young fellows need to be commended. The Tigers was not a large squad, only 25 people dressed out, and all of them have had to play a lot of football out here. And it's warm out there. Well, it's cooled off now, but it was warm when this ball game started, so they're pretty well worn down.
2nd down and goal to go for the Conquistadors at the 1.5-yard line. Fitz Wilson on the give to Rod Davis. Davis spins and turns but cannot get to the goal line. It's a nice, tough stand there by the black defense. Getting up off the bottom once again, number 68, Larry Nash, and he's played a whale of a game both ways. A loss of 1. It'll be 3rd and goal at the 3 for Cabrillo. In the backfield now, Steve Pyro for the Conquistadors along with Mike Marcelli. Wide to the left, number 22 is Steve Frank. The give is to Pyro, and a flag down in the middle of the pile.
I think the ball was loose on the ground and nobody realized it. Fitzgerald Wilson looked and said, there's the football, maybe I'll get something out of it, and dived on it. We'll have to wait and see what the flag is. It's a clip called against the conch.
So Cabrillo, once again, with a damaging penalty inside the 5-yard line. Cost him a touchdown in the first quarter, and is going to do him no good right here in the 4th quarter. And move the ball all the way back to the 17-yard line. So 3rd and goal from the 17 for the Conquistadors. Wilson rolling to the right, looking to pass, gets it to Duncan with a nice reception at about the 5-yard line.
Duncan again running a good route, starting that time from the right side, going down and making just a little hook out. And Wilson able to find him and hit him with a good pass.
Goal at the 5 after the 12-yard reception by Duncan. That's Scott Duncan's 2nd reception on the game. And the Conquistadors will go for it with Marcelli and Davis in the backfield. Sullivan and Frank split left and right. The quick pass over the center to the tight end, Scott Duncan. And it's a touchdown. Cabrillo with 1 minute and 37 seconds remaining in the ball game.
Well, there you go. That was the first really breakdown we've seen in the defensive secondary of San Luis Obispo. There wasn't anyone within 4 or 5 yards of Duncan when he caught that ball, and it wasn't a play that developed that quickly.
I think probably Cabrillo's used the tight end in this ball game more than they used the tight end all last year as a pass receiver.
This is true.
And Sherman Vernon was a great receiver, worked hard, did a great job of blocking at tight end last year. And Scott Duncan stepping right in and doing the job as Mike Sullivan kicks his 4th point after to make the score Cabrillo 31 and San Luis Obispo 7. And we'll be back.
1 minute, 37 seconds left to play in the ball game. Cabrillo leads 31-7. And Gene, this fourth quarter, as we were alluding to earlier, the fact that San Luis doesn't have a lot of ball players, and Cabrillo has turned this into a pretty good scrimmage.
Mike Sullivan kicking off. Steve Gray with the ball. Bobbles it and manages to control it as he brings it across the 25-yard line to the 28. And once again, there's a player on the field for San Luis Obispo, number 24, whose name does not appear in the roster. It's 1st and 10 for the Tigers at their own 28-yard line. Tigers now looking for some respectability, certainly with no chance to win it here with 1 minute, 25 seconds remaining.
Brad Bunker in now at the corner for Cabrillo. Cabrillo looking at some different people. Brian Grant at safety.
Port to throw the ball is looking for Hurley. The ball thrown out of bounds as the hit is put on Hurley by number 12, Brian Grant. Grant seeing his first action of the 1984 season. Grant, a quarterback for the junior varsity squad last year with good speed and good football sense.
Well, we didn't see Grant in the scrimmage last Saturday. He had some leg problems, but in here late in the ball game, and I think what they really want to do is get him in shape to play that free safety and give Fitzgerald Wilson a break.
2nd and 10, the quick pass over the middle intended for number 81. Paul Head falls incomplete. It'll be 3rd down and 10 at the 28-yard line for the Tigers.
Grant with ankle problems, and I see if tonight he's wearing high-top shoes, so probably using that for the support, maybe to give those ankles the tape on those ankles some assistance in keeping the ankles in pretty good shape.
3rd and 10. 1 minute, 5 seconds remaining in the ball game. Port throwing once again, the ball over the middle, intercepted by number 67, Steve Smith. And Smith running like a halfback. Scores. That ball intercepted at about the 35-yard line by number 67, Steve Smith, a 6-foot junior, 194-pound linebacker who's just into the ball game. And talk about a thrill for the young linebacker.
Well, that was a good tip drill. They run it a lot this time. It worked for him. And he would have scored about 4 or 5 seconds earlier, but John Roberts kept blocking him out of the end zone.
So 35-yard interception return for the linebacker. Steve Smith makes the score 37-7 for Sullivan's perfect on the night. And the score moves to 38-7 Cabrillo with 54 seconds remaining in the ball game, and we'll be back for the kickoff after these words.
Mr. Dorfman.
Hello.
0.2. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
I know that, Mr. Man.
38-7 to score. We got 54 seconds left to play in the ball game. Cabrillo on a 28-yard run back by Steve Smith, or 35-yard run back by Smith, the linebacker, on the interception, and Cabrillo will come out of the ball game 1-0 on the season, and they've looked well here in the latter parts of the ball game against a tired, short in manpower San Luis Obispo squad.
Mike Sullivan with the kickoff is fielded by number 24, whose name appears no place on the roster. Returns the ball to the 32-yard line. 1st and 10 for San Luis with 48 seconds remaining.
Well, one thing that San Luis has been able to practice a lot, and that's kickoff return, so they should do well at that the remainder of the season. But not taking anything from them, they played, considering the amount of people that they have, they played a pretty good ball game. They were a representative the first half.
San Luis has 7 ball players that go both ways. That includes the whole offensive and defensive line. And they played an excellent game in the first half. Here in the second half, it's just, they're in good shape, but you just cannot be beat on all night and still be fresh here late in the fourth quarter on a team that's coming at you and at you and at you.
Well, unfortunately, they only had 30 people come out for the ball game. I mean, for the ball team at the beginning of the season, and I think the coaching staff, Coach John Durant and Tom Dimmitt, Mike Stewart, have done a relatively good job with what they've had to work with.
It's tough when you have to take probably the best receiver on the field and make him your quarterback, and then look around for some other people who can do the job. And they've got some people on the sidelines, most of them very inexperienced, so you have to go with the people that have some experience and some poise on the field, and that's just taking its toll here in the heat. 1st and 10 for the Tigers to give once again to number 24, and he'll lose a couple on the play.
Stop made by Keith Edgecombe, number 44, so the Conks now with a lot of new people in the ball game. In fact, all of the people in there are just about second string ball players.
2nd down and 13 for the Tigers with 9 seconds, 8 seconds and counting. The give is to Castillo. Castillo breaks the tackle at the 30-yard line, moves it all the way to the 39-yard line, and we have a penalty on the last play of the game.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what the penalty is. It can't end on an offensive penalty. Face mask against the Conquistadors.
The game cannot end on a defensive penalty. So it'll be 3rd down and about 3 yards for the Tigers, a 1st down on the 15-yard penalty. That is the 7th 15-yard penalty called on Cabrillo tonight. One of those was only 4 yards, however, since it was down close to the end zone. Cabrillo going to have to do something about that. It's 1st and 10 with no time on the clock for the Tigers. The ball at the Cabrillo 46-yard line. Last play of the ball game here. The give is to Castillo over tackle, and Castillo off and running, gets the ball down to the 31-yard line, a 15-yard pickup, and the ball game is over. The Cabrillo Conquistadors running roughshod over the San Luis Obispo Tigers by a score of 38-7. And we'll be back with a wrap-up of the ball game right after this.